Hello and welcome to the first episode of this ethical micro-enterprise series. It's going to be recorded and in 3 parts. We're going to meet every Monday for an hour, starting from this week. If you're watching the recording, please feel free to ask any questions in the Everybody channel where it's being shared, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can ask in the comments as well. Thank you to the people who are here, who's at the moment Frank. So please, Frank, feel free to ask questions in the chat if and when they come. And I will try to answer as much as possible. Okay, and today I'm going to cover specifically what's a micro-enterprise within the CoLab, and basically the basic structure of what that is and how it's set up and what it includes. It's a kind of introductory session, and the next sessions after this will include what existing micro-enterprises there are and how to join them. And the third session will be all about tools and resources for micro-enterprises to thrive into this ecosystem. So I'm going to start today with going over what's an ethical microenterprise within the International Permaculture CoLab. First of all, what's a microenterprise? So obviously these are terms that are used quite widely outside of the CoLab. So within this context, I want to clarify that the term microenterprise refers to a small, not incorporated business that is made up of a few people. Usually a microenterprise operates with less than 10 people and is started by 2 or more freelancers who are working together to achieve a common goal or to provide a common service. This microenterprise does not have a business registration, but it does use a fiscal host, and I will explain later on what this means, which enables the group to issue invoices and receive payments for work delivered to clients. The fiscal host also enables the microenterprise to enter into agreements with individuals and groups to provide services in exchange for payment. So that's the first stop of our call today, is basically explaining what's a microenterprise. So you've heard that you need 2 or more freelancers. It doesn't need to be incorporated as a company. It does need to have a fiscal host, and it usually has less than 10 people. If we are talking about a microenterprise in the CoLab, it has to be founded on International Permaculture CoLab vision, mission, and aims. What does this mean? It means that the freelancers who are getting together to form this new enterprise have to have the same vision within the CoLab as the CoLab. And currently the vision for the CoLab reads: a healthy, peaceful, and socially just world in which we care for the earth, each other, and future generations in harmony with nature. So this is the basis on which these micro-enterprises operate. It's also important that the mission and aims that the micro-enterprise decides to work against is in line with this vision. So if you imagine a sort of pyramid, the vision would stay on top, and then what cascades from it is how the micro-enterprise is speaking in terms of mission to that vision, and the same with aims to that mission, right? So at each step, we're breaking down how we are working towards this. At the end of the session, I will also link to a resource so you can have a look at all of this, and you don't really need to take notes during the session, but it's an easy kind of reference document which you can look at. In the next sessions, when we talk about existing micro-enterprises, I will also provide some examples of how these mission and aims in other circles are speaking to this vision, so that you can see this kind of application from theory into practice. So the other element that goes into starting a new micro-enterprise in the CoLab specifically, apart from being within this shared vision, mission, and aims of the CoLab, is to be based on ethical principles. And in this context, we are referring to ethical micro-enterprises that are based on core values, which are honesty and integrity, And that means that every action from product design to customer service is done with transparency and a commitment to the truth. And that we don't use misleading or deceptive practices or any such behavior that could put not only the micro enterprise itself at risk, but also the rest of the CoLab. So we have an obligation to our clients and our customers, but also to the rest of the ecosystem, especially because we might bring reputational risk into play for other people who are also operating here, other micro enterprises. So that's the first core value, which is honesty and integrity. The second one is social responsibility. So we know that as an ethical business, we have to strive to improve the well-being of individuals and communities. We promote fairness, equality, and inclusivity in both internal operations, so within the freelancers between each other, but also externally when we have partnerships with other organizations or with our clients. So that's another pillar of value that we really need to pay attention to. And this comes into play when we do decide how much a service should be priced, who is going to fund it, to what extent are we collaborating with other partnerships, and so on. So this really speaks to not only just in the cloud how that we are socially responsible, but it translates into real life business practices that we observe. We also have a social responsibility to each other, right? To each other's well-being. So it is encouraged that freelancers that are operating in the CoLab, that they self-organize around this, building relationship and mutual support whenever possible. So that's the second core value. And the third core value is the environmental stewardship. So we want to, obviously, this is Permaculture CoLab. We are centered around the permaculture ethics, one of which is care for the planet. So we recognize that business activities can impact the planet, and we want to make sure that we are taking active steps to reduce harm to people and planet and contribute positively to the ecosystem. And this goes usually beyond legal requirements. Remember that micro-enterprise is not incorporated, so we are not governed by any business rules here, and we're all also on a multinational level, right? So that it's our responsibility to respect not only the environment and the people who we're talking to, but also each respectively have our own legal obligations in the countries that we are providing the service from. So those are the three values, core values: honesty and integrity, social responsibility, and environmental stewardship. So the next ingredient in our little cake mix is that we make sure that our micro enterprises are built co-creatively and respecting the permaculture ethics. So now there are two elements to this. The first one is that they're built co-creatively, which means each freelancer in the micro enterprise has a right to voice their ideas and their opinions, and has a right always to a seat at the table to self-determine what is going on in that micro enterprise. Obviously, this is not always the easiest of exercises. We recognize that sometimes personalities clash, and it maybe feels easier for something to be decided by someone and everyone toes the line. But actually, we feel that we get further together and we have a more diverse and more rich ecosystem if we invite people at the table to co-create their reality, especially when it comes to making a living, which is ethical and mutually supported, right? So that's the first part of the equation, to have this co-creative element to approach the building of a micro-enterprise from a place of curiosity. The other aspect is the permaculture ethics. So we do this together whilst respecting the permaculture ethics. And of course, this is Earth Care, People Care, and Fair Share, and this affects how we are behaving with each other, how we're behaving in this ecosystem, and how we are behaving with our clients and our collaborators as well. This is super critical, of course, because we are in alignment with other ingredients that I've already mentioned, which was the core values: honesty and integrity, environmental stewardship, and social responsibility. and the vision of the CoLab, which is a healthy, peaceful, and socially just world in which we can care for the planet, each other, and future generations in harmony with nature. So you can see all of these ingredients are kind of mixed together to try and provide a good starting platform for people to work easier together. The other element of this, which is very important, is that to be a micro-enterprise within the CoLab, you have to have a micro-enterprise which is made up of CoLab members. So in order for freelancers to form a micro-enterprise within the CoLab, they have to be first and foremost, obviously, CoLab members. And what's a CoLab member, you might ask? CoLab members are individuals who in the first place represent themselves and actively engage in the CoLab Slack workspace. So if you don't know what that is, don't worry, a link will be shared with you in the description of the video so that you can look at what CoLab membership means. And you can find out more information on how to become a member. This is important, this aspect of membership, because the CoLab has a flat and self-organizing structure. No one individual is more or less important than any other member. However, we do have, like I mentioned, membership obligations. So to safeguard the CoLab, the CoLab's reputation, and amongst others, and also to operate within the CoLab's infrastructure that we have. There is a lot of resources for CoLab members as well, so I will be sharing more information about this, and I will share a link about CoLab membership so that you can read all about it. For the people who are here that are already CoLab members, apart from being actively engaging in the CoLab Slack workspace, you will already also have attended an onboarding call and possibly have made efforts into finding out what other micro-enterprises are and how to participate more in depth into the CoLab before having a new idea to start a new micro-enterprise. Obviously, the more familiar you are with the space and with the tools that we provide, the easier you will find to find support for your micro-enterprise idea, especially if you're coming in as an individual. If you are coming in with your other collaborators as a group, then all of you can be on this journey together as you find out more about the CoLab whilst you are developing this idea of starting a micro-enterprise. CoLab members are also usually part of the decision-making of what happens when new micro-enterprises are created. So for example, if there's a new micro-enterprise created to provide a service, I don't know, of anything that could be a CoLab training company or something like this, then they would be invited, this new circle would be invited to have representation in the general circle, which is a place where all circles and working groups are invited to share what's going on, and it can be proposed there. Obviously, if there are concerns, then the other members can raise any concerns that they have, and this could be reputational concerns or have clarifying questions, because in the CoLab we use a sociocratic method to arrive at a consent. And this includes the opportunity to ask questions and present objections to any proposal. And of course, as I have already described, to eliminate or reduce the risk of reputational damage, it's important that the people who are proposing new enterprises are well aware of these obligations and of this responsibility that there is to other members. But I will talk about this a little bit more as well as we move into the next area of our session. So I've talked a little bit about the CoLab governance, which is a self-organized space, so anyone can propose, get together with other people, propose new micro-enterprises, go to the general circle, communicate what they would like to do. The general circle then goes out into the CoLab membership at large and finds out if there's any questions or if there's any objections that we could talk about. And that's only one part of the part, right? This is what we would call an internal tool for self-organization. Then there are other tools that are provided by the CoLab for micro-enterprises to be more successful. The first is the access to fiscal hosts. We have fiscal host in Europe at the moment, which is supporting micro-enterprises. What does this mean? It means that they have agreed to consider from the CoLab membership applications for fiscal hosting. The terms are at the moment 5% of every incoming amounts. So 5% of every invoice goes towards the fiscal host costs. And then the micro-enterprises can basically issue invoices from their name of their micro-enterprise. For example, if it's the Digital Circle services, it can issue invoices from the Digital Circle services. The money is received through the fiscal host on a transparent platform, which is at the moment Open Collective. So all the freelancers can see what's going in and what's going out. And then the freelancers will basically bill for their share from that invoice through Open Collective. There's also a couple interesting points here to note. Obviously, Open Collective is a transparent platform. 5% fees go towards the fiscal host. There is also some transfer fees. It depends really where the payment is being made. So obviously, when micro-enterprises get together to discuss these financial structures and the pricing for the customers, they have to consider all the fees in order to get to a price which doesn't disadvantage the freelancers when they need to process it. So there is a little bit about cost of operations. I'm not going to go into too much detail now, but I will do that further on into the series as we move on. But if you do have questions about fiscal hosting and would like to get in touch to talk with me about it, I would also be happy to talk to you more about this. Okay, then other types of tools that the CoLab provides are important. So as you can see, the CoLab Slack workspace is linked to the CoLab membership. So using the Slack is an important part of communication. So that's the preferred communication tool. Then we also provide the CoLab website. So any micro-enterprise can have a page on the CoLab website promoting their services. And we also provide Nextcloud, which is like a Google Drive, but ethical, and for teams to work together and to store their documents. And they can also have user groups. So you could have the freelance team basically have one user group. They share access to all the internal files that they have. And this is one way of managing their tools and communications. There's also communication tools, which include access to the CoLab LinkedIn. And we have a monthly newsletter where micro-enterprises can advertise their services to CoLab members and other people who have signed up to the newsletter on our website. This reaches at the moment to 600 plus people. So it's really worth using these kind of CoLab member benefits to further the micro-enterprise as much as possible. On the website, we also have a possibility of publishing events, blogs, and other materials. And we also have a YouTube channel where the micro-enterprises can release videos about their services to communicate with external audiences. We also have an ad hoc mailing list. So if you want to do an ad hoc mail out, if you have like something special going on, events or promotion of any kinds, then we can talk to the communications team about sending these special communications out. The interesting thing here, as you will notice, is that the Digital Circle, for example, provides these services to the CoLab at the moment. And these services are provided without cost to the micro-enterprises as it stands right now. However, some additional services are also possible. So if you have a quite successful micro-enterprise and you have a little bit funding, you could pay extra to have a custom email address, which is special for your team. And also we have base row access, so you can manage your client database using our base row database. And you can also, for example, pay to have your own website and your own domain so that you can reach more people. So there's different aspects of how the services are managed. Some of them are funded through the CoLab, obviously through funding that we have received, and the funding at the moment will end at the end of 2025. And hopefully we're able to maintain some kind of basic service also to our micro enterprises. However, it may be that some of the services will have to switch to paid or subsidized funding, depending on how well we do to secure funding in the future. Then there is the premium services, like I mentioned, the email addresses, own websites with own domains, base row databases. We have project management, tracking, programs, and all sorts of other ethical open source options which micro enterprises can make use of. Within the CoLab, we also have a startup incubation service and mentoring, and this will continue also until the end of next year. So for people who are interested in this service, which is funded through the Next Steps project, you can get in touch with me directly. My name is Amy Fenech, and I can be found on the CoLab Slack. If you are not a member yet and you're interested in this kind of tools, or you want to know more about it, you can have a look at the membership page, which I will link on the CoLab website. But if you only have a query and you want to find out more about these services, maybe for your own network, you can also send us a contact form from the perma.earth website, and we will get in touch with you to provide you with more information. So today I have covered all the material that I had planned for the initial session. And that was basically what's a micro-enterprise, and what's a CoLab micro-enterprise specifically, with the vision, mission, and aims, and how those are co-created but based in the foundation of the CoLab VMAs. Then the core values and principles on which we base our micro-enterprises on, the co-creative process, which is necessary to make sure that all freelancers feel welcome and integrated into this process, the permaculture ethics on which we base all our activities, that's Earthcare, People Care, and Fair Share. And I've also covered in some detail what's a CoLab membership and different CoLab tools, including fiscal hosting services, the general circle, and how the governance works in a very light way. The different digital tools that are at the moment provided for micro enterprises at no extra cost, plus the premium options that you can choose. And also I've mentioned some of the CoLab benefits. What I didn't mention was that there is available also for CoLab members occasionally the training, and that could be across a number of topics, including conflict transformation, growing team capacity, and so on. So that's another plus of being around in the CoLab. And also you may be invited or you may be prompted to participate in funding applications that are available for group funding. One such example is the Next Steps project, which is the funding entity, let's say, which is funding this session today. And it enables groups of projects to come together and deliver on different objectives. Of course, I also mentioned the mentorship. So if you are interested in participating in any micro enterprises that I will cover next time, what the existing micro enterprises are. And also, if you want to start new micro enterprises, please feel free to contact me at any point. And if you are watching the recording and submitting your questions, I will reply directly under the video. And I will share also after this video is concluded, after this recording is done, I will share some resources so that you have a point of reference if you want to go back to this information. The next session is going to be next week, same time, and we will be looking at existing and new micro enterprises And also the session after this, I will talk about tools and resources.